Hello YouTube, Dave here again. Today I'm going to be taking a look at the Curse of Strahd Revamped. This is one of the latest products from Wizards of the Coast for 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. This is sort of a collector's edition or special edition, a re-release box set of the original Curse of Strahd adventure from back in 2016. Before I get into the unboxing or go any further, I do want to just state for the record that this was sent to me by Wizards of the Coast for the purposes of doing this review. However, they're not scripting the video, they're not requiring a positive review, they're not screening it before it goes out. The opinions that I express in this video, as they always are 100% completely and totally my own. So the first thing that I noticed about this thing is it is huge. It is a large box set. The biggest overall size box that they've released to date anyway, for 5th edition D&D. Just for some size comparison or for scale, this is the original hardcover book, and as you can see, there is still a ton of room on all different sides there, where just the hardcover doesn't even take up the full size of the box. This is a massive thing. It is shaped like a coffin, which is kind of neat. I do like that touch, I will have to say. So that's just a cool little thing. It does say, unearth the terror of Revamped in this boxed adventure for the world's greatest role-playing game. And then on the back here, so it says, bury yourself in gothic horror. Under raging storm clouds, the vampire Count Strahd von Zarovich stands silhouetted against the ancient walls of Castle Revamped. Rumbling thunder pounds the castle spires. The wind howling increases as he turns his gaze down towards the village of Barovia. Far below, yet not beyond his keen eyesight, a party of adventurers has just entered his domain. Strahd's face forms the barest hint of a smile as his dark plan unfolds. He knew they were coming, and he knows why they came, all according to his plan. A lightning flash rips through the darkness, but Strahd is gone. Only the howling of the wind fills the midnight air. The master of the Castle Revamped is having guests for dinner, and you are invited. Okay, yeah, that's the same blurb that was on the back of the original. It's been a while since I've looked at that one, actually, but so that's pretty cool. And then, so it says for use for 5th edition, you need the core rulebooks for it. So the coffin components. In here is the Curse of Strahd, one of the most popular Dungeons & Dragons role-playing game products of all time, split into a 224-page perfect bound adventure for characters of levels 1 through 10, a 20-page Creatures of Horror booklet of new monsters that appear in the adventure, and an 8-page Taroka Deck booklet. A cover sheet with Strahd von Zarovich's image on one side and Strahd's monster stat block on the other, a sturdy 4-panel Dungeon Master screen designed for use with the adventure, a double-sided poster map showing the domain of Barovia on one side and Castle Revamped on the other, 4 sheets of player handouts, 54 Taroka cards, which help determine the hero's path through the adventure, a box to hold the Taroka deck, and 12 postcards, 3 copies each of 4 different cards, which you can use to invite your friends to your game. Now, the one thing I really want to get out of the way here right from the very beginning is that this is a premium product. This isn't your everyday run-of-the-mill release. This is an expensive product. It's designed for collectors or for super fans or mega fans, whatever you want to call yourselves, of the Curse of Strahd or Revamped in general. So the US retail price for this is $99.99. The Canadian retail price, which is where I live, so this is a little bit more painful, is $130.99. So $131 plus tax. And here in Nova Scotia, we pay 15% tax. 15, not 50, which I've had people mistake in the past, or I probably didn't say clear enough. But yeah, it can get pretty expensive to pick up some of these things. So this is something that's not really necessarily aimed at everyone. So I do want to sort of stress that it is a premium product. It is designed for, again, collectors, hardcore collectors, as well as hardcore fans of Revamped, Curse of Strahd, that sort of adventure type. So let's just go ahead and take the sleeve off here, which just had the marketing information and the cover image there. Just going to set this aside. And here we have the box itself. The back of the box just doesn't have anything on it. There's no artwork or anything. The artwork on the front of the box is actually really nice, and it's got a texture to it. Again, you sort of have like this rubbery feeling of where like we got the silvery shading. It has sort of a nice feel to it. So it is a very high quality box. I will absolutely give them that. Feels quite sturdy, and again, just I love the texture and the detail there. The symbol with the raven and raven loft in the background. Just really cool stuff. So inside, the first thing that we have is Count Strahd, laying as if he's at rest. So this is the cover page, and on the back is his stat block. Now his stat block is also in the monster book, so you don't have to worry about needing to use this giant card. If you are, getting to the point where you're facing off against him, your players are facing off against him. But it is, again, just sort of a nice little thing to have. It's more or less designed just to sort of try to keep everything in place when the box is closed. But, again, it's just a nice little extra that they've thrown in there. So it's kind of cool. And here we get into the contents itself. So we've got the Curse of Strahd adventure book. We'll start with this one here. Now this is pretty much a reprint of the original. There's supposed to be some differences in the way that some of the creatures, or not the creatures, but like the Vistani or the Barovians are supposed to be depicted. I haven't read like directly word for word from both books. I just sort of did a quick glance through a few things. But a lot of the things that I was expecting to maybe be taken out or changed looked pretty similar. So there may have been a little bit of change in some of the phrasing and stuff. But the two things I was really expecting to not be in here would have been the storytelling of the mysterious visitors plot hook with the gathered around the fire and telling the story. I thought maybe that would have been taken out or changed. And the Vistani, for example, or the Barovians, they all have their superstitions and beliefs. Their lore. The Vistani still have the curses and the evil eye ability. So truthfully, I don't think they changed a whole lot. Now I haven't gotten to the descriptions of like the towns in any detail yet, so maybe there's some changes there. But honestly, for the most part, it seems like most of the changes are probably relatively minor. If I do find any, significant differences, I will be sure to maybe either pin that as a comment, or I could eventually do another video maybe comparing them. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, honestly, like I said, I don't see much of a difference in what's in here. But it is a nice softcover version. I do like softcover books. I'm not going to lie. And it does come with the box set to keep everything, nice and safe, so you're not worried about shelfware as much. So yeah, really, really cool to have this. It also includes some of the appendixes, but it doesn't have the creature stats. So it has like the magic items. It has the Death House adventure. And unfortunately, I don't think they changed the conclusion to that, where you just have like the house come to life when so you still have like the house come to life, and it tries to the doors try to eat you and stuff like that. I never liked that ending. I didn't run it when I ran the adventure originally. I did something different with it. But yeah, I don't know. It's still like I said, very, very similar. I haven't noticed any like major noteworthy changes. Again, maybe just a little bit of like the descriptive text, or maybe some of the phrasing, but other than that, nothing earth-shattering. And then we have the Creatures of Horror. So this is your new monsters that are in here. And the thing I like about this is that it's not perfect bound. It's actually stapled. So this is something that, for me, I wouldn't want to lay any of the books down flat, but with these stapled products, it's a lot easier to do that. So you can just sort of have this open to the page that you need. You can have it laid flat. You can put your clipboard maybe over the page that you're not referencing. So yeah, I like the fact that the monsters are separated so that you're not having to flip back and forth. So I think they did a good job with that. I do appreciate that quite a bit. And as I said, Strahd his stat block is in this booklet as well, so you don't need to use the big giant card if you don't want to. right, and then we've got the Taroka Deck booklet. And this just gives you sort of a description of the deck itself. The composition discusses the high deck and the common deck. The common deck has your suits instead of like hearts, spades, diamonds, and clubs. You have swords, stars, coins, and glyphs. The high deck, they're sort of similar to, I think, almost what the face cards kind of were. But it gives you some information there. So it also tells you what each card represents, which I don't think was in the original book. It may have been, and I just completely didn't notice this. Let me just have a quick look there, because I may be wrong. That might actually have been in there all along. Okay, no, it doesn't look like those charts were in there. At least if they are, I've missed them several times. So it's actually, I think this is actually kind of cool. So this is sort of new material. Or at least it looks like it. If I'm wrong, please correct me. But I love the fact that it gives you what it represents. So, for example, the Priest card, the Master of Glyphs, it represents enlightenment, those who follow a deity, system of values or higher purpose. The Traitor card, the Nine of Glyphs, betrayal by someone close and trusted, weakening or loss of faith. So this would actually be kind of cool if you wanted to use these cards to do fortune tellings in other campaigns. So you can lay the card out and say what it represents, and you can sort of, if you look at the descriptions, if you want to create like sort of a plot thread by doing that, you can. So I think that's kind of neat. And then the next few pages just show the cards themselves, which we've seen several times before, but they're reprinted there in case you need to see them. So yeah, just again, a nice little extra to have. Okay, and then we've got our handouts. So these are just the handouts from the inside of the hardcover. However, they are now printed out on individual pages, and it is a nice, sturdy, thicker paper stock than we would see for some other things. So, for example, it feels a little bit maybe thinner, or it's not glossy, but it's like, almost like the cover material, just a little bit, maybe just a little bit thinner. But it does feel like very nice, high quality paper, which is great. And again, the handouts are separate, so you don't have to show them the book or do what I did, which was to type some of the stuff out by hand. Oh, well, type it out, not write it out by hand, but type it out and then print it off. So yeah, so we got the Tome of Strahd, the Journal of Rudolf van Richten, and then we have some of the letters, Strahd's invitation, and some other letters or journal information there. So again, really cool stuff. Then we have our map of Barovia. This is just the map that came with the original. It is glossier though, so it's got like a nice glossy finish to it, but it is the same map that we had in the original hardcover. And just the castle on the other side there. But it is separate. You don't have to try to rip it out of the back, which I appreciate, because that can always be a little bit of a hassle. I'm going to save the screen for last, but here we have the Taroka Deck and the postcards. So let's just take a quick look at the postcards. So they are, they sort of have this purplish look to them, and purple's one of my favorite colors, so I appreciate that. But these feel, I'm going to be honest, they're cool, but they feel very gimmicky. And it reminds me, like, this is something I feel like I would see in an Acquisitions Incorporated sort of product, but, it's fine. So this one here says, so there's 3 of each, four different cards. And just taking a look at the panel for the screen, the coloration and art design there, these are probably going to, yeah, they're gonna line up there, which is fine. Again, it's interesting. So here we have Welcome to Barovia. Wish you weren't here. On the back it says, Castle Ravenloft perches like a monster atop a pillar of rock, looming above the land of Barovia. Its awesome presence eerily reflects the dread lord and master Count Strahd von Zarovich. Enter at your own peril. It's even got a little spot for like an actual post stamp, which is kind of neat. So there were 3 of those. And then the next one is Old Bone Grinder, says dream pastries made fresh every day. Old Bone Grinder clings to a lonely mountainside, a dismal haunt for crows and night hags. Even in the still air, the old millstone grinds merrily, mulching the bones of young children to make dream pastries, the perfect escape for apathetic adults. Ugh. When I was running this in the past, the Bone Grinder, I don't think the players ever went there. So that's interesting. And then we have the Abbey of Saint Markovia, the best care this side of the Balanox. The Abbey of Saint Markovia overlooks the village of Kresik in the serene, snow-dusted Balanock Mountains. The Abbey has become an asylum for the mad, the twisted, and the abandoned. Here they can scream until their lungs wear out. I do really love the ambiance of the Curse of Strahd adventure. I think they did a pretty decent job with that. And then they have Spend a Night in Death House. Stay as long as you like, longer even. So Death House was the special introductory chapter. If you were starting with first level characters, then you would run them through this first before you got into the main bulk of the campaign. It's a great introductory chapter. Very, the players were getting genuinely unnerved as they were going through it. The ending, like I said, got a little kind of cartoony with like the house coming to life and, fireplaces smoking them out and doors growing teeth and trying to eat them. I didn't care for it. I felt like it broke the immersion, it broke the creepiness sort of factor. So I didn't do that when I ran it, but it's still, there are people that liked it, so there's nothing wrong with that. It just wasn't my cup of tea. But the rest of the chapter, or the rest of the adventure, was actually really creepy and really well done. So it says, Death House is a dark fixture in the village of Barovia. It has been burned to the ground more than once, only to rise from the ashes time and again of its own will. Locals give the house a wide berth for fear of antagonizing the spirits that haunt it. So yeah. Those are the postcards. And then we have the Taroka Deck. So this comes in its own box. You just slide the top off there. I'm not going to take the actual cards out in this video. I've done other videos in the past where I've looked at the Taroka Deck. In fact, I did one showing off this particular one here because a while back, the Gale Force 9 cards got this re-release, which came in a larger box. The first release of the Taroka Deck just came in a standard playing card size box. So when I ended up getting this, I did a video comparing them because I didn't know if they were going to be any larger or if there's going to be anything different about them. So I was hoping for larger cards because the regular standard playing card ones are fine, but when I was using them for the fortune telling sequence, the players sitting around the table, some were further away than others, and they were small enough that they were a bit hard to see for everyone. So I was, like I said, I bought this hoping that they were going to be larger. Unfortunately, they were just the regular size playing card ones. But this actually has the larger cards that I was hoping for way back in like 2017 or 2018 when this printing came out. So these are, like I said, the larger size, which is great. The other ones would be about that on it. So just really, really cool. And again, it's the full deck. I've shown these before, but the backs do have sort of the silver detail in them. That the original ones, it was just ink. It wasn't anything different. It was just like, gray, basically. But this actually has a little bit of silver, lining and stuff in it, which is kind of cool. So that's neat. And I do, like I said, I do appreciate the larger size because it'll be easier for everyone at the table to see what the cards are as you're using them. And then we've got the last item here. So this is one that I'm kind of interested in. I actually haven't looked at this yet. I've looked at some of the other stuff when I first got this, just to sort of see if I could find any differences. But for the screens, I actually wanted to hold off until I got to the actual video, because I have the Gale Force 9 screen right here. So Gale Force 9 is a third party. They do their own sort of separate like screens for the adventures that have come out so far. I think they've done some for some of the campaign books. And I have quite a few of their screens, actually. There's a handful I'm missing, but overall I have the majority of them. And what I'm sort of interested to see is if the contents of the screen are going to be the same or if they're going to be different. Now, obviously, the outside art is going to be different because we have, you know, like the postcard art. At least I'm going to assume. Let's just have a look here. Oh yeah, yeah. That's the postcard art for the new screen, which isn't bad. There's nothing wrong with that. Oh. But for the original screen, again, put out by Gale Force 9, a third-party company, we have the cover, the Curse of Strahd cover on one panel, the wolf attack in the woods or in the forest as the second panel, and then we've got the Strahd on the ends of the outside panels, the outmost panels, and you've got him in his human form on one side, and then we have him sort of in his monstrous vampire form on the other. On the inside of the screen, the first couple panels of this one are dedicated to Castle Ravenloft itself. So it gives you the map, gives you a random encounter table, so you've got that information there. And then these panels are the map of Barovia, as well as some daytime and nighttime encounters and the different locations that are keyed to the map itself, along with a list of Barovian names for male, female, and family names. So that's what we have there. So this was the Gale Force 9 one. Like, so this was the third-party DM screen that came out alongside of the original adventure. But this is the screen that comes with the actual the box set, the new box set. So let's just have a look and see what we got here. So I already showed the artwork on the outside, and on the inside, oh, it is okay. It is different. So here we have the daytime and nighttime encounters that we had before. So we have the daytime and nighttime encounters. Then we have information on jumping, like long jump and high jump, suffocating and concentration. And while I don't know how much of this stuff is going to be used in the module itself, it's honestly not the worst things to have on the inside of the screen. I know that like making jumps in the past, people have asked sort of how that works. So it's nice to have that there. Suffocation, again, would be very situational, but it's kind of nice to have that. But the concentration rules, I actually really like that that's there, because even these years later, I've run into some confusion as to how concentration worked. I've had players assume that if you were concentrating on a spell, the only other thing you could do would be like a cantrip or maybe like a melee attack or like a weapon attack. But you can actually cast spells, like actual spells, while you're concentrating. If a spell has a duration of concentration, like concentration up to a minute or up to an hour, whatever it might be, I think they're almost always up to a minute. You can cast spells that have a duration of instantaneous, or spells that have a set duration, like 10 minutes, an hour, 8 hours, whatever. So you can cast any of those other spells. You just can't cast a second spell with the concentration duration. So if you're concentrating on something like, for example, the mirror image spell, you can still cast like magic missile, fireball, lightning bolt, but you wouldn't be able to cast a spell like rolling flaming sphere, because you have to concentrate on that. So if you cast this, when you cast a second spell with concentration in it, you immediately drop the first one. So if I had mirror image up and then I went to cast flaming sphere, I would have to lose mirror image in order to cast flaming sphere. So it's just kind of nice that it has that information there, as well as the saving throws that are required when you take damage. So yeah, that's actually kind of cool information to have. Then we've got our conditions, which are sort of the mainstay on a lot of these screens. Conditions are, it's always useful to have that information handy, so I don't begrudge it being on here. They can be something that comes up a lot, and having it right on the inside of the screen means that you don't have to go trying to find it. So I don't have a problem with that. A lot of screens, like I said, have it, but again, that's fine. We got the rest of the stuff here, including exhaustion. And then we have some like information on setting DCs. So setting a DC, the numbers that you would use. This is some stuff that would be useful for sort of improving some situations if you have to do anything on the fly. So we got that, tracking DCs, damage severity, or damage by level and severity. And then we've got object hit points, object armor class, and then we have skills and the abilities that they're attached to, which again can always be a useful thing to have handy. And then we have travel pace and obscured areas and what the effects might be. And then we have encounter distance. This has been on a couple of screens, and it's something that I feel is really criminally underused. And I'm totally guilty of it myself. I'm super guilty of not using encounter distance, but it's something for especially random encounters that I really want to start trying to incorporate into my games. So this is something that is just kind of neat to have, because having it in front of you is a reminder that it exists, so you can try to incorporate it there. There's a little bit of information on the Barovian calendar. Then we have cover, light sources, the mists of Ravenloft, and what the rules for them are. So for example, if you're going through them, you have to make a Constitution saving throw, or you suffer a level of exhaustion, and you always end up getting deposited back in Barovia. Instead of, like, doesn't matter what way you go through it, you're not getting out of Barovia that easily. Then we have the Barovian names, which is, again, I think is probably very similar to what we had on the other screen. And then we have Lands of Barovia common features. So these are just information for doors, secret doors, like DCs to spot them. Doors would be like the strength checks to break them open, or the damages to the hit points and stuff to maybe get through them. Or I guess just the information to get through them. Locks and information on webs. So yeah, overall, pretty cool stuff. So that was my look at the Curse of Strahd Revamped for D&D 5th edition. Overall, this is a really interesting box set. I love the presentation overall. Like, the coffin shape is awesome. And the contents are really high quality. You got the DM screen with the thick cardstock, similar to the kind of screen you would get if you bought the DM screen reincarnated, or the original screen, or even the Gale Force 9 one. So you get that thicker one, as opposed to the thinner sheets, cardstock sheets that you would get for the DM screens in things like the Essentials kit, or like the Rick and Morty box sets. So that's really cool there. The Taroka Deck, it's great to have as well. And the larger card size is also fantastic. I was really happy to see that. The handouts are top-notch as well, very high quality there. The fold-out map has a nice glossy texture to it, so I feel like it might be a little bit more durable that way. Plus, you're not ripping it out of the book, which is difficult to do without ripping and tearing, even if they're just small little tears, but tearing the actual map itself. So again, just really, really cool to see that. The booklets, I was actually really interested in the Taroka Deck booklet. I kind of would have liked to have seen a bit more things you could do with the deck in that book than just the reprints of the images of the cards and stuff like that. But the charts telling you what the cards represent is really cool, and so I'm glad that that's there, because that way I can actually, if you wanted to, you could use those in other adventures if you want to do any sort of fortune telling type of scenario. So I do appreciate that. It would have been nice to have, like I said, had some other rule sets or stuff, but it's still a really cool product, or a really cool add-on. It's only an 8-page booklet, but that extra information that you do get is really cool, and I really I look forward to using that at some point in the near future. The creature book is cool as well. I actually really like that, because it's staple bound, so you can just lay it flat. You're not going back and forth between room descriptions and monster descriptions. So like, that's something I really, actually really appreciate. So that's a nice little feature. And the soft cover version of the Curse of Strahd book. I'm a sucker for soft covers, so I do really like that as well. So yeah, this is a really great product for hardcore collectors, for people that are interested in collecting premium releases of things, like the sort of the upper tier sort of things. For your standard collector, your standard D&D fan, This is something that I have a little bit of a harder time recommending just based off of the price point, especially if you live in Canada. $131 plus tax is pretty steep. There's a lot of great stuff in here, and I feel that it does a pretty decent job justifying a lot of that price. But unless you are a serious hardcore collector or a major fan of Ravenloft or the Curse of Strahd campaign to begin with, it is a bit more difficult for me to give this a general, broad recommendation. But for hardcore collectors or serious fans of Ravenloft or Curse of Strahd, then this is a great addition to your collection. It is a limited release item, so this is something that you do if you are interested in it, or if you might be interested in picking this up for someone that you know who is a hardcore fan or a major Ravenloft fan, then you may want to consider discussing this with your local game store sooner rather than later. This is a great product. Like I said, it's just not quite for everyone. But what's interesting is this is the second sort of revised or reprinted original or older D&D 5th edition adventure book or adventure product come out. The first was the Tyranny of Dragons hardcover, and now we have the Curse of Strahd revamped. So I'd be interested to see if they do something similar to this with future or with other previous released adventures. I think it'd be really cool to see, for example, if they do something like this with the Princes of the Apocalypse, where you could have a box set where you'd have like the DM screen and maybe the handouts, but you could also have the 4 booklets, each dedicated to one of the 4 elemental cults. I think that'd be kind of neat. Or something like Storm King's Thunder, where you could separate things out based off of the giants that you pursue, or some of the other things that you could do with that. Maybe the Out of the Abyss, where you could have different sections of the Underdark have their own separate products. I don't know. There's something. It's just kind of interesting to see if they continue to release products like this, because I've liked both the ones that they've done so far. So yeah, again, really, really cool product, especially for serious collectors and serious fans of Ravenloft. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed watching this video, and thank you to Wizards of the Coast once again for sending this to me. I really do appreciate it, and I do appreciate each and every one of you taking time out of your day to sit and watch this video. So you have no idea how much that really means to me. It means the absolute world. So thank you very, very much for your time, and until next time, take care.